folks, welcome back to the second thing we're going to be showing you in the little bit of engine science, or well, science. What we're doing right now is we're measuring our pushrod length. So there's a little bit of math involved in this, which it's basically all just written out right here, and it's not really a whole ton of math. What you got to know in order to do this properly is get your cam card for the cam that you have and figure out what your lift is. So for this cam, our lift is 510 thousandths of an inch. And what you want to do for setting up your proper rocker arm geometry is basically you want to center the rocker arm with respect to the motion of the valve, so that when the valve is half open, the rocker is at a 90-degree angle to the pushrod. Well, the pushrod goes over here, actually. Or 90-degree angle to the valve, my bad. Not the pushrod. Forget about the pushrod. It needs to be at a 90-degree angle to the valve. So basically, the two things that you need to know, like I said, is the lift, which we have 510 thousandths, and this number right here, which is how far the nut moves every time you give it a turn. So one turn of the nut is that much distance. It comes from the thread pitch of the rocker stud, and that is dependent on the rocker studs you have. We have 3/8 studs, so that's the number that we're using. And got that number from good old Vice Grip Garage. He had a video on how to do this, and you should probably watch that if you actually want to learn how to do this. But we're just going over how we're doing it in this video, and probably watch a better video because I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing. Anyways, to get it at half lift, you take this number, divide it by 2. There's your half of the valve lift, and then you divide that by this number right here to figure out how many turns you need to spin that nut in order to get half lift. So basically when we do this, the valve is going to be shut like this. We're not going to have a pushrod, or we'll have a pushrod length measure, but it's not going to be tight. And this is going to be closed. And we're going to set it at 90 degrees and then take away half the lift. And it's going to bring the rocker arm down like that as we turn this 6.07, 6 turns in basically. And then we're going to adjust our pushrod up until it touches there, and that's going to be our pushrod length. So then, when it does actually go to half lift, it evens itself back out, you're back at 90 degrees for half lift. So we're going to go do it on the engine, and maybe you guys will see a little bit better how that goes. To find the center on this one, what we did is, where these rocker arms mount, there's this thing. This is curved right there. There's a dome on this, and this fits into the dish on the inside of this rocker arm, and that's basically where the center of the rotation is on the lip, the inside lip on the inside of the rocker right here. So we basically just eyeballed it. There's a dot. The lighting is bad, but we put a dot not right on the bottom here, up a little bit to compensate for the thickness of the stamped steel. And then we're drawing a line from this dot to the tip of the rocker arm right there. And that's the line that we're going to line up with the retainer on the valve spring to get our 90 degrees. And we'll just get something that is flat-ish and use that to line it up. Alright guys, so right now we're drawing a line to line up our 90 degree, or well, trying to anyways. You gotta find the center of the rocker arm. We put a dot. You can see the dot right there.
Doesn't move too much.
It's the spot where the dot doesn't move when you go back and forth like this, because that's the center of where it pivots. And we drew our line right there. So you can see there's the line we drew. Disregard the other line.
Yeah, this line is...
The one on the bottom is wrong.
Yeah, it's incorrect.
So now we need to line up the that line with the top of this retainer. So, I don't know.
Like this. It's like this. It's actually pretty close to where it's right about here.
Alright, so what we did, guys, is as you saw in the last clip, well, we were still trying to figure it out, kind of, but we got it set so that the line, this top line here, was parallel with the retainer, just using a nail. We literally just set the nail across the top here and lined up the line. Obviously, it's not lined up now. And then the number that we calculated over there, the 6 turns in, we took the nut up here and went down 6 turns from that point. So we had it, when you line it up, you have to push up on this, so it's up against that nut, and then go down 6 turns. So now where it sits right here is 6 turns down, and basically all we have to do now is extend this push rod until it hits the rocker arm. And we basically want that to just be adjusted like you would adjust a normal push rod. Tight enough that it won't wiggle up and down, but loose enough that you can still spin it back and forth between your fingers. So I can't really do this with one hand that well, but you're just going to want to extend this up until it's, I'm getting close now. Yeah, I'll do this and I'll show you guys when I get it completely dialed in. Alright guys, I got it set up. As you can see, I'm trying to wiggle this right now. There is no play in it, but I can very easily spin this. Oh well, now the rocker arm fell off a little. I can very easily spin this with my fingers. There's no drag on it, it's very smooth, but at the same time, it will not wiggle up and down. So that is where we want our push rod length at. So we'll take the nut off the top here now and take this out, and we'll measure it with some calipers or maybe just a ruler. I don't know if you have calipers that go that big, but we'll take the nut off and then show you guys what that looks like. So we got the push rod length checker out, and we got the length. It's actually a really nice number. I'm just roughly kind of holding it here. I have this set on the 1 inch mark right now. And as you can see, this says, well, it says 8 3/4, but since I have it on the 1 inch mark, that's 7 3/4. And it is 7 3/4 exactly. Like, me and Peter both looked at it 16 different ways and cross-eyed, and it was 7 3/4 every single time. So we were originally thinking we were going to need to buy a new set of push rods that had custom length on them. But it turns out the push rods, whatever stock push rods GM used in most of their small blocks, must have been 7 3/4. Look at that. There it is again, 8 3/4, but that's really 7 3/4. And all these old push rods, the old push rods out of my 305, this one is out of my 305, and these here push rods were both out of that engine right there. They came with it. So we're going to be able to reuse the old push rods. Plus this one, because we did have the one push rod that deleted itself. So we're going to substitute in this one. It should be the exact same thing. It looks a little different because it's got like knobblier ends on it. But I mean, as far as I can tell, they're the same length. So we should be good to go with push rods, and we'll be able to slap this engine together. that's going to be it for checking pushrod length. Up next, we're going to be doing camshaft degreeing, so we'll get right into that.